Welcome to the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. We're your host. I'm Evan. This is Brian.
What's up, guys?
Tonight we have a special guest here with us. This is Erin. So we will go ahead and just kick it over to Erin and let him introduce himself.
I'm Erin Bohannon, and I'm just a grateful recovering addict. I'm grateful to God for another day clean, and I'm grateful to be here tonight to share with these two men on the road to recovery.
Cool. So we were talking a little bit before, right before we started recording. You said that you had 24 years clean.
Yes,
Is that right?
my clean date's August 1st, 2001. And before that, I'd used dope for 22 years. So, and just to go in a little bit about that, I just told myself a million times, I'll stop. It's getting out of hand or what have you, because I can tell a lot of war stories, and I'll probably get in some of them a little bit later. But the point being is everything I tried failed. I could never stop using dope, and and I tried to die like 2 or 3 times because just didn't want to keep, living that way. And I remember just really distinctly coming back from Louisville one time, and it was probably the last year I was using, just banging the steering wheel saying, man, why'd I do it again? And oh my God. And just hating myself. Because when I left, I was gone for like 9 days at the time. But when I left, I told the ex at that point that, I was just going to go get a gallon of milk. And honestly, I was really, that's the weird part. The weird part was I was honestly going to go get a gallon of milk, but the truck just kept driving up Dixie Highway, and I wound up in Shively. And 9 days later, I'm going back home, banging that steering wheel, saying, why I do it again, just thinking about just running into that concrete viaduct, or something. Just the guilt, shame, regret, and remorse that I felt every time, every single time. And the insanity part was, didn't know why. I did not know why. My family, I remember my family saying, why do you do that? And I'm being honest, guys. I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I do that.
I've been there.
And, that was the truth at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Till I found fellowship of narcotics. And I found and got the basic text, and I got into that fellowship, and I got to understand for the first time that, I have disease. But before I knew that, I was around my family, and nobody in my family was in recovery. You know what I mean? Nobody heard any recovery talk. None of that, I mean? It was from Colesburg, Kentucky, population 50, what I'm saying? It's a very small community, farming community, very church-going community, and so on and so forth. Just brought up right, good morals and everything, what I mean? It just didn't make sense.
So you're
Why
not
would you do
raised
that?
by a pack of wolves.
No,
Right.
no. And it doesn't really matter. That's just my story, what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't want to say that, a person that wasn't raised like that had more. I'm just saying that the disease don't care how you're raised.
Exactly.
It
Right.
does not care.
Yeah.
And you would think that, I had every available resource. Yeah, I had some traumatic things happen when I was a child, for sure. But still, on the whole end of it, I was raised right. I knew what to do is right. I don't know if it's a hereditary thing. I don't get in that discussion much. It don't matter to me. I don't really care. It don't matter how the mule got in the ditch, how we're going to get him out. I love that saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I sit there and think about why me, poor pitiful me.
Right.
And I'm a very victim stance person because of my disease. But the point being is that it wasn't because I don't think it was hereditary in my case. I got brothers and sisters who are not, they're not addicted like I am. My mom, my dad wasn't addicted like me. For some reason, though, he put one in me, and I break out. I have an allergic reaction. I break out in felonies like all those do. We've heard that said many times.
Right.
But, it was like, wow. What I felt, it was cool to walk into a room and other people felt that. Because when you're out there and you don't know the rooms, and you don't know there's people out there like that, you honestly feel, or I did, alone, and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't give nobody no answer. And I'd honestly say I don't know, and I swear and promise, I'm not going to do it again. I promise, and only just to go back and do it again. But then I finally got in trouble with the law. I've been in jail several different times, but never for no any long time or anything like that. For a night or something like that, DUI, public intoxication, so on and so forth, and some other little bitty things. But The big thing was I got into jail, and this time it was child support and for possession of marijuana. And I got they told me I was going to have to do 90 days or do drug court. So I was like, man. So this was back in 2001. Drug court. This was actually it started in 1999. So I was one of the first people to be entered into drug court in the state. And the deal was, if I took it, then at that time, if you took it 90 days, then if you didn't make it through drug court, you had to do a year in jail, in the county jail. So you wasn't doing the state side, you're doing the county side. Some people knows the difference there. They're probably listening, but you don't want to do the county side for a year. You know what I'm saying? Not good. I hated jail, and I'll tell you that. I always say this too. I'm not one of them guys. I'll do my time sitting on my head. I never have been.
Yeah, you did.
I'm not one of the men today. And I'm not afraid to say it. I don't care if somebody in the jail is listening to this and saying, "Man, he's weak." I don't care what the people in jail think about me.
I'm
I
not.
don't care what the people on the street think about me.
Yeah,
Anymore.
I'm not in jail.
No,
That's what matters.
I love my freedom, man.
Yeah.
I was never built for that.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me.
No.
So when you say, so you went through drug court,
Yeah.
for the people listening that have not been through drug court, like what, and this, you said it was just starting, right?
Yes.
So what were the parameters? Like what did,
Well, the parameters
did it
was
entail?
you had to go to you had to do a treatment class like IOP, intensive outpatient, or if you could go to residential, but I didn't have to go residential because I was incarcerated when I got out. They were just to go into, and I was in district drug court, not felony drug court, so mine was a district case. It was a misdemeanor, but it entailed that you had to pee in a cup, and you had to see the judge once a week. You had to do all your IOP sessions. You had to do an individual session. You had to do AA meetings. You had to do 2 or 3 AA meetings a week. And as long as you was compliant each week, you got to get out another week, and it phased up. You start out in phase 1, you go to phase 2, phase 3, and then you graduate. And then when you graduate, you get that off your record. You could, if it wasn't, well, at that time, it's still on my record. For some reason, they didn't expunge it at that point. But that's what it consisted of.
And it was 90 days.
90 days is what I had to do. You know what I mean? So some people, there's felony drug court, like, it might be on 5 years or 7 years, you come in and do it. But if you do drug court, then, so that's what the deal is with drug court. But so what it was I had to go each week, and I had to see a judge. I had to pee in a cup, and that accountability. There was no way. I'd been on some different programs in the past, like it's called CAPS over in E-Town. I forget what's one's over here in Bullock County is, but
The colors.
you call your color. You get peed once every 3 months.
Yeah.
And I almost made it. But it's a God thing, right?
Yeah.
It's truly a God thing because I made it through. Because we could, if I knew when I was going to go test, and I didn't have to have any accountability, I'm going to go, get somebody else's urine or do something and get that test-free kit or whatever, just drink 3 gallons of water. And I did that, but they called me, man, on a time when I was out there, dude. You know what I'm saying? And that was in my last 3 months. And I had to report within like 8 hours or something like that.
So your mindset when you're going into drug court,
Yeah.
right? So once you're out of jail, you're going into drug court.
Yeah.
Are you thinking, I'm just going to do my time in here, get this drug court done, then I'm going to go back to living the way that I always lived? Or was it like, I'm done now?
No.
Or
Absolutely, it was that way. And absolutely, my first thing is I'm going to go in here and find the cracks of it.
Right.
I'm going to go in here. And surely they're not going to really ask me to stop using. I'm using for 22 years.
Everything you make.
I say I want to stop, but not really.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I want the blow torch to knock off my ass.
Right. So I get in there and I see how serious it is. And then I got thinking, because I just spent 22 days in jail, and I didn't want to spend another minute in jail. And I knew I had to do something because I knew me. You know what I mean? I knew me. And at that point, when the light came on, at some point, but I want to go back to the point which kind of brought in earlier was when I walked in, I had to do an assessment. There's a program supervisor there, and she's passed away now. She's one of my heroes, but her name is Diane, and Miss Diane Kavanaugh. And she was doing the assessment. And she tells me, she says, I go through all of it. And she's asking me what my drug usage was and all this, and I tell her, and she tells me, I'm like, you know, I really want to stop doing the harder stuff, you know, the meth and the crack. But I said, I'm just going to just shoot you straight. And I told her, I said, I don't think I can ever stop smoking weed. You know, I smoked it like cigarettes, you know what I'm saying, for years.
Yeah.
Never did make the connection. That, you know, I never did make, you know, so anyway, she just listened to me. She didn't get mad at me. She didn't say you're going to jail. She just listened to me and she looked at me and just in that moment she said, you can do this. And for some reason, I don't know why, dude, I felt that all the way through to my toes. It's the first time, you know, I had my family, they all believed in me. I don't want to, you know, take it from my family, anybody else that loved me and wanted me to stop or whatever, and I just didn't hear it from them. For some reason, though, when she told me, I heard it. And for just a brief second, man, I believe I could, you know? And it inspired me, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that totally inspired me. And as Evan knows, it inspired me to a point of a whole different level in drug court. I'll tell you more about that as we go along. But yeah, so I got in there and I started doing that. And I was married at that time. This is my second wife. And I'd go to them ILPs or the meetings and I'd come home and she'd want to get the truck and, you know, go get some dope, you know. And God bless her soul, she's passed away too now. I don't know if she ever got clean, but I just couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Realized real quick, dude, I was with her for 7 years and I come home one night or one day from one of the groups and me and her got into a big argument. I mean, I'm jumping up and down, just shaking, just mad. And I'm like, and there's 4 little kids around us, her kids. And I just looked at them, they were just crying and stuff. And I said, you know, when I was clean, I said, these kids will never see me act this way ever again. And I left. Now the kids went to their dads and to their grandparents and stuff like that nature. But I walked out and I didn't walk back. But I had to make that decision. I'm not telling anybody else that they have to make a major decision like that. 60 days clean, you know. But I knew that I could not keep going to meetings and live in a house where there's dope.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I didn't have to have a lot of people tell me that, you know what I'm saying? I know that, you know, I mean, if I keep coming there, it's going to be there. So that's the best thing that happened to me. And I went, I left, and at this point, I'm living with my sister for a little while. But I started really listening to AA, you know, because there wasn't much NA. There was 2 NA meetings a week in Hardin County. They were both at treatment centers. And I was going to them faithfully, you know what I mean? But there was no NA sponsors. If you want to sponsor, you was going to get an Alcoholics Anonymous, you know what I mean? There wasn't a Narcotics Anonymous sponsor. So I got me a sponsor, and he was a good one. And me and him started my home group that's still going today. It's the longest running home group in Hardin County. It's a Living Solution. It's amazing, and it's been going since 2002.
It's a good name.
Yeah. So and it started with 6 people, and I mean it's just you know it's been an amazing thing. I can't tell you how important it is for me. I can't say for anybody else telling me, but meeting makers make it, and having that home group, you know what I mean, and being consistent with that home group that many years now, and that's how many years I got clean. That's how many years I've been associated with it on month. You know what I mean? That's the impact. You know what I mean? That's the story in itself. I don't even have to explain it. You know, for the clean day. But I went in there and I want to share this because I didn't share much about my history. And if I'm talking too much, y'all break me.
No, you're fine, bro.
All right. So, I went in there and because I had to, and drug court said I had to go to 3 meetings a week, right? So I was doing that. But I heard and I seen some people, man, that was in the meetings. And first, I don't know about you all, but I did not believe them people.
Yeah.
Did y'all?
No,
the ones
not
that,
at first.
We had an episode that came out today where we're talking about that.
Yeah.
How we thought we were full of shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I thought,
I'm like,
well, yes,
what?
this will work for you, but not me. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
way. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Logically, it doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah, you didn't walk the same path I walked.
Right.
You didn't do, you know, it was that, you know, I'm just, it's that contempt prior to investigation that talks about the big book about Alcoholics Anonymous. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely had it. You know, and I still have it today. It's part of my makeup. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, you know, before I see, but
Let me judge this before I even know.
Exactly. Yeah, I already know the answer now.
I'm
I'm
going
like,
to
right.
assume.
Yeah. So, so I got in there and I seen that was going on, and I seen the light in their eyes. I kept coming back, and they say, as y'all know, they keep coming back, and I think to myself, oh, I am, because I know you're full of crap. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to just see, and I've always heard if you stay around long enough, you'll hear your story, and I never did quite get that, right?
Mhm.
But then now I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. My story's not wrapped with the individual or anything, but it's a whole thing with everybody. And we're all got the same disease that makes us do these bad things, and we don't understand why. You know what I mean? So you will hear your story in there,
Yeah,
so
you can identify with the symptoms of the disease.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it don't matter what it's wrapped in.
Yeah.
And that's another beautiful thing, man. There's no prejudice in the fellowship in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you practice these principles in all of my affairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't matter what shape, size, country, race, ethnicity, any of that. It doesn't make any difference, man.
Mm-hmm.
You just look a person in their eyeballs and you practice principles.
Mm-hmm.
How powerful is that if the world had that, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's what one of the things we've talked about, and that's what I love so much is that in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about how we're a group of people who typically would not mix.
Exactly.
And I love that about
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Because I've got guys that I sponsor that I'm like, I think back and I'm like, man, before this, I would have never even spoke to these people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And the people in the rooms and just the immediate guys in this group of guys that we have, we all come from different walks of life. And that's what I love about it is that we all have one common goal and a common solution. And it doesn't matter about anything else. Where we come from, what we did, and what race we are, whatever it is. It's awesome. That's what I love about it.
And
Yeah,
when
you take your car to get your car fixed. Doesn't matter if your car is black, if your car is white, red, blue.
Yeah,
If it needs a battery, it needs a fucking battery.
That's right.
Yeah, man. It doesn't matter.
That's it.
And
how beautiful is that? That is in essence practicing these principles in all of my affairs. But first of all, you got to know what the principles are. You know what I'm saying? You really do.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to back up because all right. So I'm starting to get fired up about. Wow, I'm starting to get fired up. I'm in drug court. I got this stuff going on. I moved in with my sister at this point, and now I want to share a story because my dad's, bless his heart, he's passed away too, and my mom, but they passed away and they seemed to be clean, man, both of them.
That's awesome.
My dad seemed to be 5 years plus before he passed away. My mom I was probably almost 12 years plus when she passed away. So I was able to be there at the funeral instead of like, where's Erin at? You know what I mean? And I've been to many funerals like that. Well, where's Erin at? You know what I mean? And I couldn't attend because of, the issues that I had. But I started seeing in drug court, I'm like, man, I think I started believing I can do this. My first key tag, I don't know if y'all are familiar with NA, we get a key tag.
I've been in NA.
So you get it just for the days, a white one, it's surrender. It's white, first one you
I've got
get.
a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, I don't even remember that one. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember my first one, okay? But let me tell you what, that 30-day one, I remember sitting there waiting, man, I can't wait till they say 30 days, dude. And I mean, that felt like 30 days. I couldn't stay clean 30. I couldn't stay clean 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? To stay clean 30 days. And then people that had 5 days getting 5 years, multiple years, I couldn't even hear them, see them. It sounded like Charlie Brown. Bum, 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 bum. You know what I mean? Couldn't even hear them. And people was getting up there and getting 60 and 90 days were my heroes. You know what I mean? That was achievable. I'm like, wow. And I remember, man, getting that orange key tag at 30 days. And it was like I got 30 years. You know what I mean? Because I never stayed clean 30 days in 22 years.
And that's what people that don't suffer from this disease don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like the pride. Like there's good pride, right?
Yeah.
There's foolish pride and there's
Right.
pride that gets in our way, but there's that sense of accomplishment of I'm doing the right thing. Like I'm doing something different. Like you said, living by principles. Like, because most people, right, don't get to that point where you're getting these chips or tokens if you're not living by these principles.
Right.
Right. You can white knuckle it and just get there, but
Yeah.
if you're doing that, you're probably not enjoying what you're getting anyways. But you know, like a lot of people just don't, and like my wife, like I would get home like, look, I got this shiny one, you know, and she'd be like, cool, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know.
There's a very humbling
You
part
know?
that you get later on in recovery after you get some
Yeah.
time. There's the
Right.
humbling part is, you know what, it's you know,
that one.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not really, you know, I should have been doing this before. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to shoot on myself, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I don't want to get it twisted. And
Right.
because it tells us that, and that's the anonymity part about it. That's the anonymous part in both fellowships. That right there is,
Mhm.
you know, it's nameless. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's not about me telling everybody all the things that I've achieved. You know what I mean? It's not. But it's about walking in that fellowship and being either or fellowship, and you're feeling, you know, you just feel the empathy there. You know what I'm saying? But I heard and I seen what was going on there, and I seen some people that light in their eyes, man. That's what I wanted. And I seen the people who's had the light in their eyes. That's very specific with me. All right, I want to share my experience with this. I noticed and I listened to them, right? And I seen, not that you can't learn from everybody, because I sure have, and I'll talk more about that too, but the people, they had what I wanted. And the ones that had that light and they had that peace. That don't mean that everything was good all the time. They just had a peace and a calmness that I wanted. You know what I mean? I just never had achieved in my life. And they all talked about one thing. They talked about COVID sponsorship steps. They talked about God. And they had God in their life. You know what I mean? Now some of them had different concepts of power, but they was you know, my opinion and my thought was the ones that I had the same higher power with, made a big difference with me. Okay, because I resonated toward them. But also, it was easier for me to dig into my higher power more, which is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I'm just saying that out loud. And I want to say that because I found others that had that. And what I noticed was that they seemed to be more peaceful to me. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, I want that. But I grew up in a Catholic church, all right, and I grew up as an altar boy, and very, you know, hear a lot of different things. I don't want to get in denominations or get religious or anything like that, but you know, I went to church. You know what I'm saying? And not that I would say I'm an atheist or against church or anything like that, but you know, I didn't know what God had to do with recovery. You know what I'm saying? I really couldn't make that connection. And I want to back up because I want to say this. When I was in drug court and I seen that and I started getting on fire with it, I went in and I asked an old timer. This is very vital and important because it's the simplicity of this program. Okay. It is. I said, what? I said, I want what y'all got because I seen it. I said, now tell me what I need to do to get it. And it was very, very simple. It was very, very simple. He said, well, if you want what we got, then you got to do what we did. And I'm like, okay, tell me what that is. And he said, well, um, he said, when you get up in the morning, he said, you need to ask God to help you stay clean today. And I'm like, I started arguing that right immediately. You know, I went to church, I've been an altar, started telling that my whole story on it. You know, I'm like, well, what's that got? And then he said something to me, it just changed my whole direction. He's like, man, he said, listen, he said, have you ever tried it? No, because I had no. Right?
Investigation.
Yes, I said no. I haven't asked this because I thought going to church was the same thing as what he's talking about. It wasn't.
No.
It's a personal relationship and dependence on my higher power versus a dependence on everything else, life and dope. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way I dealt with life was through dope.
Yeah.
That's it. And I had no coping mechanism at all. You know, if it's raining outside, let's get high. If it's snowing outside, let's get high. If it's sunny outside, let's get high.
Yeah.
Somebody dies, let's get high. Somebody's born having a baby, let's get high.
Yeah.
Every feeling ended with let's get high because
Mhm.
I did not know how to cope or deal with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was able to look back and see that. And I never did incorporate God into that, right? So he said that I'm giving this whole spiel about why that ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? And he said, well, listen, he said, you don't have to do nothing. He said, you come to me and ask me that. And he said, I'm telling you. He said, if you want it, that's what you got to do. He said, won't you say it one time? I said, all right, God, please help me stay clean. He said, how long will it take you? I said, probably 4 seconds. He said, can't you dedicate 4 seconds to your recovery every day?
Mhm.
And I wanted to punch him, but
You're like, you're asking for a lot, bro.
I wanted, you know, I mean, come on, you know, don't do that to me,
don't pay
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, what else? You know what I mean? All right, we got past that. He ended that with the punch. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you win. He gave me the knockout on it. And I'm like, all right, well, what else do I need to do? He said, well, when that thought to use comes to your mind, he said, you got to say, please, God, remove that thought from me. And he said, and you call your sponsor if you don't go away or go to a meeting, wherever you're at. And he said, listen, he said, I'm going to tell you, if that thought, and he said, it will come. He said, it will come. And he wasn't lying. And he said, when that thought comes, you got to ask that immediately. And he said, if it comes 30 times a day, he said, you got to ask 31 times.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you'll be all right. And he's been correct. Okay, I can tell you all that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's been absolutely 100% correct. Right? He said, if that comes to you 30 times a day and you only ask 29, he said, you're going to be out there using. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, all right. He gave me a tool that I still use to this day. All right, still use it today. And then I said, what else do I need to do? He said, well, you need to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Lord, I said, the drug court said I only have to go to 3 meetings a week. And he said, if you want what we got, then you'll do what we did. So I done 120 meetings in 90 days. That's just, I was dedicated. I was committed. And they said to do this. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to double do it. He said, you got to get a sponsor. You got to work the steps. You got to find that. He said, you got to give back. Be selfless. He said, and the last thing, he said, when you go to bed, before you lay down, hit your knees and say, thank you, God, for keeping me clean today. And that's so vital and important. So vital and important. For me, that's my own personal story. And I've done that last night before I went to bed. I hit my knees. And I thank God for another day clean. This morning I hit my knees and I said, God, please help me stay clean today. And it's 24 years later.
And the best definition of humility that I think I ever heard was knowing humility means that you know where your power comes from, right? So at the end of the day, you're humbling yourself and acknowledging that you're not keeping yourself sober, that God is keeping you sober, or your higher power is keeping you sober.
Absolutely.
Because we don't have the power. Because left to our own devices, we do what we do.
Yeah, we're powerless.
Yeah, we're powerless. So I like how you said that's vital. It's necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so that the God was a big issue for me, especially the first time I was ever introduced into recovery. And that was something I always lacked. Like my previous sponsor, like I would go out and come back, and that's what he always told me. I'd be like, man, I don't know why I went back out after 3 years sober, or after, and he would always tell me, it's because you're missing the biggest part, and still to this day. So I start my mornings the same way, and I end my days the same way. And throughout the day, I try to practice, but I'm not perfect at it.
Yeah.
I can say I'm not, but I make sure to start and end my day in prayer.
Absolutely.
I make sure to start and end it that way. And I should probably work on throughout the day as well, because they're, work, whatever it is, I can feel myself like,
life,
but that's what, that's what I was always missing, was the spirituality. That's what I was missing.
I love the word you're saying, spirituality too. I'm not talking about religion.
Right.
And anybody listening, I don't want, because people will turn off and say God, there's all automatic. Oh God, we're going to church. But no, we're talking about a personal relationship and dependence on a higher power.
And and you say that, you said something to me when we first met years ago, and that's what it was about, was the spirituality. And you said religion is for people trying not to go to hell, and spirituality are for people who have already been to hell, and who've already, or have been through hell and came out, or
coming out of
out of hell, and I was like, man, I can kind of get on board with that, and
that's the beautiful piece about this, is because you get to find it. You know what I mean? You get a good sponsor and you get some good people in your circle that's not pushing their belief on you. It's not about me pushing my belief on you. It's about you finding an honest, and this, a lot of stuff I'm quoting straight out of the basic text here. It's not about me, it's having an honest belief system. What is your honest belief system? The book asked me this question. So I'm like, I have to be honest about my belief system in order to figure out where I'm going to go with it. And I got to be comfortable being honest with it. Am I going to be ridiculed by saying what I honestly believe, or how, how's that going to be? So I need to be very open minded. I can just share some of about my experience, but I got to allow others to find them theirs. You know what I mean? I just know that, and I try to always lead them to that, to where it's not. I'm not talking about church. It's just about just having an open mind. And my sponsor told me before. He said, "Listen, you don't know who your higher power is." He said, ask him. You know,
Yeah.
and it's to hit your knees and close your eyes and pray and see what comes to mind.
Yeah.
And I challenge anybody listening for that. You know what I'm saying? That's not. I'm not getting anybody's head or nothing. That's my belief that my God's right there with you all the time. And He will reveal Himself to you when you ask. You will receive. I believe that with all my heart. I went on through drug court, right? And of course I'm doing great through drug court, right? So then we had to have these sheets and have them signed. You got to sign the sheets. So I take it. We had to take ours to court. The judge would read them every Monday. And he'd see. And one time Judge Simcoe in Hardin County, and he's like, I was bringing in like 10 meetings a week, right? And he's like, I needed 3. He got kind of tired of it, really. He thought I had a long ponytail
Like,
at this point.
yeah.
He's like, so he said, he pulled his glasses down and he said, does anybody need a meeting? Aaron seems to have extra ones. And I looked over to my program supervisor, Miss Diane. He's like, so at that point, I just started just turning in 3 meetings a week, but I was still going to a meeting a day, sometimes 2, right? And it taught me a humbling lesson right there, right? Because was I doing it just to impress people? And then I remember the people in drug court, because this is people, in drug court, there's the people who are doing it, and then there's people who's not doing it, and there's the people who are, there's the ones that's going to be doing it, the ones that's not going to be doing it. Basically, it's going to be 2 groups of people. Um, and the ones that are doing it, the ones that ain't doing it, obviously, I remember them saying, it got back to me, you're the poster child of drug court.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, thank you, man.
Yeah.
I feel good. They said, don't you know
I
their
ain't
brain?
going to
They
jail.
said, don't you know their brain works in you? I said, man, they need to get in there with a scouring pad.
Right. Yeah.
And it would just take all the wind out of their sails, because it was the
Yeah.
truth. You know what I'm saying? I was like, but I was able at that point to just be really humble to the fact that I have these people were trying to help me out. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't mind you saying that about it. I don't care. You know what? I'll feel good about this. So I graduated drug court. After graduating drug court, I went on to stay in recovery. We started a lot of meetings in Hardin County, and I started a lot of NA meetings, helped get a lot of NA meetings started, because I just kind of had like a vision to start get NA started, so we could start sponsoring through NA. And I just wanted to have an NA meeting there every day of the week, you know what I mean? And out of a treatment center. So Living Solution became the first group that started out of a treatment center. And it's been lasting ever since. And it wasn't long, had a meeting every day in Narcotics Anonymous in Hardin County.
It's awesome.
I started sponsoring people through the basic text. My sponsor sponsored me through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And as we went through step 1, I'd go through this book and we go through step 1. I just want to show you guys something real quick. I don't know if you've heard this, but and I know we can't show them on a podcast, but look at the first word there, and you see my book falling apart. What is it?
Simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity. The very first word in the basic text.
Yeah.
I just love that. I read this book, and the first chapter, man, told my story completely. I didn't have to identify. I didn't have to hurt anybody's feelings by saying, well, by saying, the things that they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, so we don't offend other people, and I used had accessories, I took alcohol in accessories, or,
outside
just
issues.
outside issues, and hey, and I get that, when I go to AA, my name's Aaron, I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
My sobriety date is August 1st, 2001. Right. When I'm in NA, I'm Aaron, I'm an addict, and my clean date.
Right. Yeah.
It's the language. I understand. Here's the thing.
Out of respect.
It's out of respect. I want to respect it. The big difference is in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous for me, and it says in the book, you just read it straight out of literature, but it's about, alcohol is too limited a term for me. You know,
Right.
it's too, I have a disease of addiction. It's a lot bigger than just one substance.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's something I could just relate to. And in NA, we don't talk about a substance at all. We don't care if you're, and here's the cool part. We don't talk about it being alcohol, marijuana, crank, heroin, what have you, opiate,
Right.
what.
Yeah.
No, because when you do, the person over here is doing heroin, and this person over here just smoking
Separates
weed.
them.
It's like, me and him don't know. You know what I mean? So we don't talk about substance.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We talk about what the disease does. And this book just spoke to me in a million different ways. Man. It just made it a lot more comfortable for me to be who I am and just not have to be careful about how I say it. And I'm not saying, and here's the thing, everybody wants to say marijuana is the gateway drug. And it may be for several people, okay? But I tell you, most of the people I know, the first thing we've done, especially around here where Jim Beam is and all the bourbon capital of the world, first thing all of us have done, and I'll leave people on me. Alcohol is my gateway drug.
Yes.
It's my gateway
That
drug.
was my
Hey, you know what? Today, the biggest thing stumbling block I've ever had, and it's me trying to quit on my own. Remember me telling you earlier about my family saying, well, once quit, why don't can't you just have a drink, we'll have. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. You know,
Yeah.
and I'd go.
Great idea.
Yeah,
I've never thought of it. How did I never think of this?
And then honesty just started coming out of me because I never could get honest with myself about this whole deal. If you start talking about my dope, I don't know. I got defensive. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
When the family start talking about, you might have a problem.
Yeah.
No, let me tell you something. What the problem is?
Yeah.
The problem is the ex. The problem is the way that I was raised in this house.
Yeah.
It's my childhood. Because you can start talking about dope, I'm going to get really defensive.
Always.
Oh,
You know what I mean? I'm going to get, don't talk about, you know what I mean? I'm going to guard it with my life.
Yeah.
But
it
the
is
truth,
your life.
yeah.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is it was the dope. You know what I mean? It was definitely the dope. But getting back to the story about the alcohol, where I realized it was, and it all made sense in the big book and this book, was I told myself and my ex, I said, well, let's just go up there. We'll have a margarita at the Tumbleweed. You know what I mean? I had like $700 in my pocket. Just got done doing the roof. And that was a lot of money back in the 90s. But we got up there and I had the margarita. And before the state come out, man, I'm calling up the dope man.
Oh yeah.
And they had beepers back then. So that's what you did. You beat,
Right. Yeah.
And that just resonated with me because that was 2 years before I got in recovery. But when I got in recovery, I remember that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, I didn't ever struggle with that issue. Well, I can just have a drink because I already know I can't just have a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I can't just smoke some weed. If I smoke some weed, I'm smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to smoke every day. I'll get smoking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here's another thing that always bothered me about that. About going back out when I thought about, well, maybe I might go use again or something, whatever. You know how the thoughts come to your head. But then I thought, if I do, I'll be alienated from my fellowship, and it's definitely going to take me away from my family. But if I went and I got set at the bar stool, man, it'd be hard to go back to Monday night living solution group or an AA meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't have both worlds.
Yeah.
So once you choose that, you're choosing. I'm not in recovery because there's no way you can do that and recover. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
We've seen people try it.
Yeah. I've
You know.
tried a couple times, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to. And always distance from the fellowship and the solution, obviously, but
It's like I'm going to fast and I'm going to eat.
Yeah,
At the
that's
same time.
it. That's right.
They don't do the total opposite.
I've tried that several times, and it kept me out longer too, because it was harder to come back. That pride and ego, it was hard for me to be like, okay, they will just accept me back if I come back.
Yeah.
If I make it back,
Yeah.
I'm welcome. But it kept me out longer sometimes because I
Right.
was like, they're gonna be judging me when I come back about my relapse, and it kept me running longer sometimes.
Yeah,
I
but
wanna
that
wait until
judgmental
I'm doing great, and then I'm going to come back, and then they're not even going to know that I messed up.
Yeah. And how crazy is that?
Yeah.
We can't get nothing great. We're thinking,
I know.
okay, I want to get great all of a sudden. And then when we also think, well, we think, oh man, what are they going to think about me? Man, we got to remember, man, there's nobody in Alcoholics Anonymous or NA who's just walking down the street one day and said, oh, wow, there's an AA and NA meeting. I think I'm just going to attend.
Right.
Yeah.
Every one of us come in broken. And I want to share, I want to tell you about my brokenness too, about because when I come into drug court, I told y'all about getting the divorce and moving in with my sister. Well, my sister had to move too after that, her and her husband and her kids. And they moved to Bardstown. I couldn't move to Bardstown, so I was in Hardin County Drug Court. And my dad had moved to Park City. No, he was still living in Colesburg, I think. I don't exactly remember. But the point being is, there was probably about a 2-week period or more, maybe 3, that I lived in. I had a Honda Civic, and I lived in a Honda Civic in recovery on the side of a creek down in Colesburg. Every night I'd go to a meeting, right? Go do my drug court stuff, and then I'd go back down there to the creek, and it's right on I-65 if you're going towards Town. Right before you start going up the hill, there's a creek right over there to the left, and that's where I lived. And I always like to bring that in because that was in recovery, right? But the difference was this time I didn't fall back. I could have fell back to my family, just been protected. So this time I was ready to face it until I wasn't. Okay, this is a powerful part of the story because it was like I was like 3 weeks down there, 2 or 3 weeks. I don't even remember exactly. And I'd get up every day and I'd call the drop line or whatever, and then I'd go to the 12 o'clock meeting at the Safe Harbor Club. And I got up that last morning there at the Creek Bank in the Honda Civic, and it was springtime or summer. It might have been even summertime because I know that I got up, man, as we all do when we get up, man, we have to go pee. But I was sitting there and I was in the car and I woke up in the car in the Honda Civic and I'm thinking, man, and I'd been eating like candy bars. I had no money at all. I didn't have a job. Now I'm thinking, is it worth it, man? And then what kills me, I'd go to that meeting, right? And everybody's telling me, and they knew my situation in the meetings.
Right.
And they say, well, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Have you ever been told that?
Oh yeah. Sometimes that's hard
Let me
to.
tell you something. When you're in the creek, when you're in the Honda Civic on the creek bank and you're eating Snickers for supper, you're telling me I'm exactly where I need to be while you're going to go home with your wife and your house and your boat and cars and eat steaks, pet your dog. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It was but man, it's that grit. It's that grit. And that's what I need. I needed. I need to go through that. And you know what? It increased my faith, my trust in the whole process. But I was about to give up that morning. And I was like, I don't know what to do, and you know what, this ain't getting me nowhere. And, that thought of going back, because I could got on the couch like we used to couch surf all the time, I wouldn't stay there long. Someone would kick me out, get me out of there. But, I knew that was an option. It's always an option. And, so I got out and I got out of the car and I'm really debating on, keep on this recovery path. Man, it just got completely silent. It's right beside I-65. There was no noise at all. I looked across the creek and the water's running over top the rocks. And I looked across the creek and there was these big purple flowers and they're just blowing in the wind. Dude, I felt the presence of God all over me. And I just hit my knees right there. And I just wept and prayed and got up, went up to a meeting and, just grateful. Thankful, I wasn't in jail, finding the gratitudes in life. But man, after that meeting, I get a phone call and an apartment opened up on the hill on the projects for me. So I was able to get an apartment, but this close.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all ever heard, don't give up 5 minutes for the miracle happens.
Say it's on His time. That was His timing.
It was His timing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And then I was like, man. So I mean, if there, it says, there's coincidences turns into miracles in the second step of the basic text, what it talks about. And that's one of the miracles for me. I've made it through there. And I look back and I just thank God that, I didn't give up on that minute. I did not give up. And I do believe. And I've had a lot. And people say, you think sometimes when you hear that, we'll just get that 1 5-minute episode, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle happens. Well, I'm telling you over 24 years that, you'll have a lot of them don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, you will. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what life hits us right in the nose. The good news is, thinking about going back out kind of lessons and lessons and lessons. Mm-hmm. I really do not want to. God has removed the compulsion to go back and use. That's not something I'm like, oh God, I miss it. I do not. Mm-hmm. And I have to say this out loud, and I say this every time wherever I spoke, wherever I've done anything. I am a failure as a drug user. I could never use dope successfully. I don't know a whole lot of things in life, but I can tell you all and anybody who's listening that this man right here cannot ever use dope successfully. And I want to tell you, that's one of the reasons that me knowing that, not you telling me that, not a judge telling me that, not someone else telling me that, me knowing that, is why I get to stay here and get to share with you guys today.
Because it doesn't matter if we're telling you that, if you don't believe it,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything.
Well, the basic text tells us, before we all agreed about, we didn't know why we done what we did.
Mhm.
Basic text tells me in the 4th step said that it's not a moral dilemma. And forever I thought I was just a bad person. I don't know about y'all. Do what?
Lack of power.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was just a bad person. I'm the really scum of the earth. Because, I wouldn't take care of the kids. I missed funerals. I didn't work. I didn't do nothing. But I remember saying one time to an ex, I was like, when I don't use, I'm a pretty good guy. I get the kids off to school, give them bath. I help the neighbor.
Yeah.
Right.
So you put one in me, and I'm in the basement. I got the covered blankets with the windows, and you can't get everything turned off, and just what I mean, can't come out there for nothing. What I mean, it's like a bunker. I'm bunkered in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm useless. And I made that connection, but did it make me change? Yeah.
That's the insanity part.
Right.
That's the
But
bad
that's also the bathroom. That's the part though that made me feel like I was a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's not. It's just
That's a
because
good
of
point,
the disease.
because there was a lot of times when, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have this experience, right? It's like the big book says, like a Jekyll and Hyde thing,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That's what I
So
was just thinking.
it's like, but there were times when I was a functioning alcoholic
Yeah.
or drug addict where like I am taking care of my kids. I am going to work. I'm holding a job.
Yeah.
But I'm not near the person I could be.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing those things. So then there's also times when I'm not doing any of that stuff. So it's like that's the baffling part of it. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I do this no matter what. Like I do this no matter if my day's going great, if it's shitty. It does not matter what my circumstances are. It's
Mhm.
like this is what I do.
Absolutely.
And then when that was finally broken down to me like that, it's like, dude, like none of that matters. The external stuff
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's like you're sick.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna use
Right.
unless you find a power greater than yourself and have this experience that's necessary and vital and crucial for you to live on a new basis, then you're just gonna keep using.
Absolutely.
And I was like, man, I was like, this is some bad news.
It
Like,
But it turned out to be
great
good
news.
news.
Yeah,
The good
like,
news is
no, no
because
problem.
it's not a moral dilemma. It's not that
Right.
it's not that we're bad
Exactly.
people. It's when we put one in us, we do bad things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It makes me a bad person.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
I've said that to people that like, the harmonious people or whatever. You shouldn't say that about yourself. No, I should say this about I know myself. I don't need anybody to tell me that it's okay, the things that I did when I was using dope. Because I'm going to tell you all, man, it's not okay what I did when I used dope. It's not okay the man I become when I put one in me. That is not okay to you, my family, society in large. It's not.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, I become a liar, a cheat, and a thief. And there ain't nobody ever going to tell me that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay. I should be locked up.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, I'm just speaking loudly about myself. You know what I mean? I ain't saying, but here's the cool part, man.
I agree.
Is I have the disease of addiction, right? That's not a one-time thing after me admitting that. I'm not sick with the cold that's going to pass.
Yeah.
I have to know that. That's how come I got to wake up every morning and do the same routine on a daily basis, whether anybody knows it or they recognize it or they want to say, oh, well, that's not the reason he's clean. I don't care if you think it's not the reason I'm clean. I know what works for me. And it's worked for millions of others.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just following a path. And I stay on it every single day because what I've seen about people going back out, and I've seen a lot of people do it, is they stop doing some of the things that we do. They stop praying. They stop using sponsors. They stop sponsoring people. They stop going to meetings. And then there's some people who, my sponsor was very quick to tell me because I'd see people drop off and he'd say, Aaron, we don't have a monopoly on recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Some people become deacons. They become pastors of church. They might become a leader in the Boy Scouts. What it is, though, see, they're being selfless.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing good works outside. And it's selfless. That's right. So the Lord's called me to do here and be in recovery and do this avenue, but it's not to say that He calls everybody else to do that. And just if they don't do it my way or the way that I learned how to do it, doesn't mean it's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
'Cause
You
it's
can
not-
find avenues of recovery in different ways. I follow the way of, the 12 steps and the principles that we learned in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. But I don't want to discount that, God can't use other things and other people. He's not just in NA and AA. And
Right,
sometimes you
yeah.
go to NA and AA and you would think he is. You know what I mean? That he's the only, this is the only place you're going to find God at work. No, God's at work everywhere.
Yeah.
Hey, we're just a special group of people that he has to do some extra work on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say I've never experienced or I don't think I've ever met anyone who was actively in recovery. And I'm not talking about somebody because there's a difference between someone who just shows up to a meeting a couple times a week for an hour a day versus
Mhm.
someone who is in the solution.
Right.
You know what I mean? Actively in all parts of
The
it,
application of it.
right,
Mhm.
recovery, unity, service, in all aspects of it. But I don't think I've ever met anyone who had periods of sobriety that just was actively in the solution and then just woke up the next morning and was like, I'm high.
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
all, and for me
Yeah.
personally, keeping it
I've
on
never
me,
seen it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I've
my
seen the
story.
opposite though.
Yeah.
I
A lot.
always stop going to meetings is how it begins.
Mhm.
I stopped going to meetings, stop contacting my sponsor, stop answering my sponsees, no longer in prayer and meditation. I'm no longer giving back, doing anything. It's, and then that
Mhm.
selfish Evan starts coming back. And so, you mentioning that's what I was like, I've never met anyone, I
Yeah.
don't think, that was just actively in the program or in recovery and then just woke up the next day and was like, oh, I'm high.
That's it.
I've
I
never.
don't think, I think you're actively in it no matter what you're feeling. Feelings aren't facts. And I totally believe that what I learned through practicing the principles to applying this recovery is that, I have to do this on a daily basis. I have to, it's just for today. But my Lord, the days fly by really fast. I was just thinking about that on the way up here. It's like 20 some years pass by. And if you tell me, like, well, remember like 2018? No, I don't. I mean, I don't, because I live one day at a time. You know what I'm saying? And I've been learning to do this one day at a time. I want to get back to where after graduating drug court, because after doing that, I stayed in recovery and stayed very active in there, sponsoring other people and stuff and so on. Met my wife, but before I met her, I'll tell you about this story because it was 2 years after graduation, and Hardin County had a spot open for a case manager, and so. Long shot, I'm not working still. I'm just doing recovery. And I was in a wheelchair because I got run over by a forklift. So I was just healing from all that. I was walking around with a cane and stuff. But another story. Anyway, I just had a lot of time. So I was staying down at the clubhouse, the Serenity Club and Safe Harbor Club, and just staying in a lot of meetings. So judges said they told Diane to get a hold of me because I was still going back to drug court and doing groups every now and then with her. She'd asked me to come in and do groups. So I'm like, sure, I said, well, make me feel good. I'm glad to give back, right? So Diane said the judges want you to be a case manager here at Hardin County. And I don't have a college education. I had a GED, but didn't graduate high school. Didn't have any kind of degree of anything, and I told them that. And so they said, well, just apply. So I applied and I got denied because I was a past participant of drug court at that time. You couldn't work for drug court because you was a participant of drug court. And plus, I didn't have the qualifications.
Throw that out there.
Yeah, I didn't have the qualifications.
Yeah.
So the judges in Hardin County went to Frankfurt and they talked to the manager of drug court and told them they want me to have. They said we want you to go interview me, and you can see for yourself. So she come down and she interviewed me, and we went back to Frankfurt and they changed the policy, and I got hired for drug court. So I became the first participant to be hired in the state to do that, which was a great honor. You know what I mean? Then I went all over the state speaking and stuff of that nature, graduation, so on and so forth. But I became the first one to do that, and I just immediately, I just loved it, just giving back what had been given to me, and a lot of different ideas. And then the job came open here in Bullitt County for a program supervisor, and I applied after 5 years working down there, and I became the program supervisor of Bullitt County, and I've done that with 11 years with Judge Burris, and that's where I met
Yeah.
Mr. Cameron here. But
Yeah.
that was powerful. I mean, powerful. It's that started with hardly nothing, and it became one of the better drug courts that I feel in the state. So I'm very happy with judges too. I love Judge Burris and all the judges here, and all the work that we got to do in Bullitt County. Another job came open back in Hardin County, and they had the largest drug court at the time. And so I took it as a position hire, and I told them I'd take it if they raised the position to like an urban program supervisor, and they did. And that was during COVID, and I supervised that drug court, and then I applied for a regional supervisor, which was over 14 drug courts, and I got that job. I've done that for about a year, and I had 17 years in, and I resigned from drug court. But I mean, I can never tell you, and I always said I could never give back what drug court gave me, and it gave me everything. It gave me my start, it gave me a job. I look back on the stability of it, my family, my wife. I met my wife. She had when I met her, she had like 60 days clean or 30 days clean, something like that. I had 3 years, and that's not a good thing in the recovery community, right? Y'all know what they're called, right?
Oh yeah.
13 steppers or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I was taking a lot of flack because I was in a lot of them, as y'all know, I've already told you, I was in meetings all the time. I was really up in the recovery community, right? Yeah, man, they was talking some stuff about me, and rightfully so, you know what I mean? But I knew in my heart when I met my wife, she come to a Friday night candlelight meeting we had living the solution, and I heard her talking, and I was like, man, I can't wait to see her. You know what I'm saying? Because it's candlelight and the lights come on, and oh my God, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And we just hit it off. And I mean, when you know, you know. She didn't have her children or nothing, and we went against all odds, and we got together and got married, and we had a child. Me and her did together. We got her 4 children back. She had 4 children before, and one of them special needs, and is Lukey, and he passed away in 2017, but got many years with him, and he had special needs, and it's just a blessing to have him there and be with my wife and to raise the kids. The kids called me dad. We got the kids, all of them back, and like within 3 months, and they was all living, and I was living in a little 800 square house, 800 square foot, and there was 5 kids in the living room, and my oldest kid was in the and he had his own room, and of course me and Jamie had ours. But I mean, it was the happiest home you'd ever seen. My dad would come up there. I got a brother who's a postal worker, and I mean, totally opposite of me in my life. Great guy. I mean, just done great with his life. Marine, ex-Marine, just postal worker. A beautiful family. Yeah, but love him to death. Joe, he's my older brother.
I got a brother like that too.
I got another older brother passed away. God bless him. Me and him went through the madness together, and he passed away. God bless his soul. But love him so dearly. But anyway, so we was living in that little bitty house, and we just happy Dad would come over and see us. And I mean, it bothered him because my brother Joe was living in a really nice house, a really nice subdivision, but we was completely happy there. Now, and when my dad passed away, it's one thing I did. He gave, inherited a little bit of money, and I went and put a down payment on the house that we live in now, and raised all the kids in the house, and now they're all gone except for my youngest daughter, who she was gone for a little while. Now she come back and she living there. So, and I have 5 grandbabies, which is unbelievable. They take up all my time. Got to take my kids to all the sports: softball for the girls, football for my son, baseball, basketball. I just the recovery's given me so much. I can never give back. I can never give back to my family.
You get to live a whole new life.
Whole new life. I got to meet. All of a sudden, people giving me keys to buildings.
It's weird, right?
I still, man. I don't. Y'all. I don't know if he's been to court, but when you go to the court and you see, I don't know. I used to go to the court all the time, and you see them certain doors, and you're like, I wonder what that door is to. You know what I'm saying? You can't go past this door.
Find out.
I had a little key, man. I can go sit, and then it would let me in, dude. And I'm like, good Lord.
Wow.
Oh, and the coolest thing was going down to the jail, right? And I still, even the last days of working, I hated going to jail. I didn't mind once I got in there to work with somebody, doing the session or whatever. But man, I'm like, are they going to come? You know what I mean? Because you go in between them two doors and you get
They
stuck
gonna
right
forget
there.
I'm here?
Yeah, they're going to
Yeah.
forget I'm here.
Yeah.
But man, when they come, they unlock that, man. I still, I'm walking out of here. You know what I'm saying? But that's cool. So there's been so many things, man, that's blessed me through my recovery. I could never sit here and say it said social acceptability does not equal recovery, and I believe that. And, we know the promises in AA. And in AA, we don't have no promises. We have the promise of freedom from active addiction. That's the only promise. Anything else is a gift. And I love that because
Yes.
sometimes them promises will set you up. Economic insecurity will lead me. No, I'm sorry. Economic insecurity has not left me. It just didn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's times I get worried about, am I going to have enough money to make this rent? You know what I'm saying? Or make this mortgage, or pay for this car, or go to this, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, well, am I doing my recovery right? Because I've got these problems. But that's just not true. It has relieved me. So I ain't gonna say it's false or it's a misstatement. But that's what I love about the NA, about
You're
making
not
no
taken out of
promises.
context.
It can be, and see, here's the thing. I'm an addict and I take things out of context.
Yeah, that's what we do.
You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
so that's my issue. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But it has, and I think back to when living at Honda Civic, that economic insecurity, it did it left, I was living in a Honda Civic and I was still going to meetings and recovery, you know what I mean? It's like, wow. But today I own my own business and, I got a partner and been doing that since now for 5 years. And, we still hire people in recovery, give them, help them out. And we're both, he's a sponsee of mine, but we still help people out that way. And I still continue going to my meetings, still sponsoring people. It's just been an absolutely beautiful, wonderful life. And as y'all see, my book's falling apart, but I love the book of NA, the basic text. I got my Bible here. I love my Bible. Every morning, one of the things and I didn't say this, but that old timer told me too. He said, you need to get a meditation book and you need to read it. And I read the Death of a Day meditation book every day. So these books, this book I read every day. The Just for a Day I read every day. That's what I do. I start my morning out by reading meditation. I got like 3 or 4 books I read. I spend about an hour doing that, reading and praying, and I pray and I read, and so I get up early. Sometimes I'm like, do I have to pray again? You know what I mean? I don't pray this long. And I'm like, yeah. So if I don't do it, man, I feel convicted. You know what I'm saying? So I pray every day, and I'm so grateful for that. And I want to say a connection with my higher power is the most important, vital connection that I have. And I would not be here without it. And be able to share with other people. That power, that feeling of that hopelessness that we have, like banging that steering wheel, and then be able to share with you guys today, that just didn't come out of nowhere. It's prayer and action. It is prayer and action. You can't do just one. I can't just pray and sit on the couch and say, God, give me a good job.
I'm
You know
so
what I'm
glad you
saying?
said that.
Yeah. God, just give me a great job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can take care of my family. And, well, you ain't doing that, God. Well, you know what? I got to get out and I got to apply. I got to get up and I got to walk.
Yeah.
And I can't say, well, I can't stay clean. Well, maybe you need to leave, quit going to the dope house and seeing what them guys are doing. Why are you missing them?
Yeah.
I need to delete them people out of my phone. You know what I mean? They don't want nothing from me. And I have had people too that made the mistake of working through the steps. And well, when I got to the 9th step and I had to make amends, or the 8th step, I robbed some people out there, for the dope and stuff. I took advantage of them. My old dope dealer, I didn't pay him. That's not on your amends list. That don't work. You ain't gonna go back and make no. That's the dope game. Is what that is.
Yeah.
I'm not making amends to anybody that I've done dope with. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. That's still doing dope. If there's still an active addiction, I'm not going around it.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what I mean? That's part of it. I can make I can share. Do a 5th step about it or whatever if I feel so terribly bad about doing something like that. But that kind of goes with the territory. You know what I mean? I'm grateful for having a sponsor who led me through the steps, helped me to understand the steps and the principles. And my favorite principle of all is perseverance. So if there's anything, my sponsor always beat me over the head with perseverance. Said, no matter, don't give up. Perseverance is not just endurance. Perseverance has a goal. It has an object to it. It's you have a specific thing that I'm persevering toward. And in our case, perseverance is doing the will of God, or it's staying clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm persevering. You see what I'm saying? So it's just not endurance. It's not perseverance. Perseverance has an objective goal. You know what I mean? No matter what. And I'll tell you, I've been in situations in my life where just storms, right? And we all have. And, man, I'll be going crazy and I'll be thinking, what am I going to do? And called my sponsor, I can't hear him. I got my support group, can't hear him. Went to a meeting, couldn't feel it. But I've done them things. So what I want to share with you. I didn't go use, right? But I still wasn't feeling the relief. And the only thing I could find, and people say, well, Aaron, what can we do? Or well, how can I help? And I'd just tell them, I'd say, man, God's in control. And I'd have to say that over and over to myself. I wasn't trying to push people out or nothing, but there's no one, I couldn't hear you. You know what I mean? It's something I had to work out, and I just kept, because I got a good routine. And I keep that recovery routine no matter what I'm feeling or whatever I'm thinking. Because recovery does equal reaction. Well, how am I going to react when this happens or that happens? Recovery teaches me to, do the next right thing, to pray, to go to a meeting, call a sponsor, so on and so forth. So I've got and also just do the opposite, because I'm usually thinking completely wrong. My first thought is usually absolutely ridiculously wrong.
Well,
And then I say, man, I'm an addict.
Yeah.
He was like, well, how long you got to do that for? Well, as long as I breathe, but thank God that I know now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God we got a solution.
And my mother used to always kind of, she never, I'm not gonna say she didn't understand, but people like family, they were always like, well, why do you have to keep doing that? But after years now of trying to stay sober, now she knows, like, wait a minute, he needs to do this. So even my mom will be like, did you go to a meeting? Did you go to a meeting tonight?
Because you don't want me to steal your purse.
That's
right.
Are you going to go to a meeting?
Yeah.
And and at 38 years old, that she still does it. You know what I mean? Because she knows.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I've got to do this.
Yeah, my family's done that too. If they start getting nervous, are you still going to meetings?
Yeah.
But you know what? I never had my family go to one of my birthdays. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They didn't really care. They just seen me change, and that's all. That's everything that they needed.
Yeah.
They seen I change, and they know what I do to keep that change. So are you still if there's any kind of like what you just said, it's like that's pretty powerful when people realize that.
And something else that I think I think it's just awesome. So we met in 2012, and I was at the lowest I've ever been in my life. I was in jail and had nothing, had literally nothing, and came into the drug court program in Bullitt County that you were running at the time. And obviously I can thrive under some structure.
Yeah.
Right? I can thrive. So I'm in this drug court program for 18 months, and you're telling me I got a drug test all these multiple times a week and go see the judge once a week and go to these meetings, and I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on it, and just sitting here listening to you speak, all these memories are coming back that I kind of forgot about. I mean, just times when I was in drug court and sitting through your groups, and I still have my basic text was the first one I ever got, and going through your book study in there, and it was so powerful and everything. And I remember you telling me back then, the only thing I'm gonna promise you is freedom.
Yeah.
And I remember that kind of stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm just thinking back, and then obviously I've been in and out for since then up, and now it was actually a few weeks ago. I was driving home from work, and I guess I don't want to use his name on here, but someone we both know called me, and he said, hey, is your wife hanging out with Aaron's wife? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I'm pretty sure that they're posting pictures together on social media. And I'm like, what? So I went and looked.
Yeah, I've seen a reel of them.
And I'm like, that is Aaron's wife. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, at that point, I was like, I know I got to reach out to Aaron, because I've heard your story before, and I'm like, I want to see if he wants to come and do this thing. And it's come full circle back. You know what I mean? And now our wives have a relationship, because she's told me before, I think she came to your house over the summertime.
I think she did, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to go have a pool day with Jamie. And I'm like, cool, have fun.
Right.
I don't know Jamie, but have a great time. See you later. You know, and I just think it's awesome. You
It
know what I
is.
mean? I really do. I think it's just, it's awesome. I'm so happy that you came out here.
Man, I'm so happy you asked me to come out. So it was really great. You want to get out of yourself, you want to share and give back. And,
Absolutely.
you want to see some stuff that you work with. And like I said, you don't know. You know what I mean? I know, I was thinking about it on my way up here, man, the job that the Lord gave me to do there. And I believe with all my heart, I worked at it with all my heart. No matter, people would say things or whatever about me or whatever. You know what I mean? It wasn't, I know what my motivation was. It wasn't to terminate people. It wasn't to, be in control of people. It was to say, man, there's a way out, dude.
Yeah.
You've been given a chance. And I feel with all my heart that, I did that the best I could. Yeah, I could have been better. I'm not perfect, like you said earlier. And, there's always stuff you look back on and say, man, I wish I would have did that different. Or, because you learn as you go, as you go through life. Life's always throwing stuff, but man, it's good to wake up and be able to face it today and not have to be afraid of it. I don't have to worry about somebody, finding me out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What a way to live, dude.
I
You know
walk
what I mean?
around forever. When am I going to get exposed?
Exactly.
When are they going to
Today's the
find
day.
out I'm a
Today's the
fraud?
day. Yeah.
It's coming.
Because and thank God we got that conscience. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Before I hated that conscience, I'd always try to numb it with dope.
Yeah.
But now through that 11th step, through improving our conscious contact, now we can trust that conscience. And that's what the Just for Day reading was today. I don't know if you guys read the Just for Day reading today, but it's basically just trusting, and having that intuitive manner about ourselves now, about, doing the next right thing, and trusting that when it don't feel right, it probably ain't right.
See, that's the
You know?
difference in something that you brought up earlier is that we can go, and I don't, I'm not someone who goes to church. And I think if church is working for people, then rock and roll. You
Yeah.
should keep going to church. There's nothing wrong with church, but we can still be disconnected from and not have that conscious contact in church.
Absolutely.
We can be in church and say, well, I've been going to church and I've been praying, and how come I'm still getting high? It's because it's not about just going to church. It's about having a relationship and a dependence and contact. It's not just about a belief.
No.
We need more than, like,
It's got to be action.
along the journey early on, yeah, we just need to believe, but then it needs to evolve to where we've got to have some kind of contact,
Absolutely.
or else we're just pissing in the wind.
We are.
You
And
know?
plus, it does break down easy for me. Is that, steps 1, 2, and 3 is getting peace with God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about. Getting peace with God. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is getting peace with me.
Yeah.
And then 7 and 8 7 and 8 getting peace with others. And 9. Yeah.
Right.
10, 11, 12 getting peace with, maintaining the peace.
Staying there.
So all that equals peace.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I love about it, And I always write down, I got 4 priorities in life, man. And the way I just broke down the steps right there, peace with God, peace with me, peace with others, and maintain the peace. And then 4 priorities is God, me, my family, and others.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have them, and I always notice if I'm starting to get out of whack, it's because I got them out of whack. I put my wife before God, so I start getting resentful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I put my partner before something, and I start getting the resentment. He starts breeding resentment or something. So I have to say, okay, let me get back here. So I can do a spot inventory any time with them 4 priorities right there. I say, am I giving it to God? Am I putting God first in this situation? Have I considered Him? And me being second sounds very self-centered. But if I don't take care of me, and that's my recovery, if I'm not second there, I cannot take care of my family. I can't help anybody else in the community.
Yeah.
So there were some basic fundamental things that I always share. I like the first step I always share about this because the principle behind step 1 is honesty. Okay. Then, then there's right when you're honest, the next thing that happens is you are humble. You cannot be humble and be dishonest.
Right.
Don't work.
Yeah.
If people say, how do I have humility? Be honest. Humility is a byproduct of being honest.
Yeah.
And in recovery, the honest thing I do is say, man, I'm a failure as a drug user. I can never use dope successfully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's an honest statement.
Mm-hmm.
That's a humbling statement because something's bigger than me, a 58-year-old man who should be conquering the world.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, nope, the disease is bigger than I am. And that's very humbling. And then after that, then comes acceptance. Because I've asked the old timers before, I said, how do I get acceptance? I asked at a meeting. And you know what the answer was? They said, keep coming back. They didn't have the answer for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was the answer, guys. That
Mm-hmm.
was the answer. They accepted me
Mhm.
for who I was and where I was at.
Right.
So ironically, they didn't have the answer, but they did have the answer.
Yeah.
I'm able to see that reflecting back now. So through when I honestly admit that I'm an addict, and you know, it humbles me, and I can accept the fact that I have the disease. So there we go. Got honesty, humility, acceptance, and then we can talk surrender. People say, you know, if you ever heard anybody go, well, just surrender, man. Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how to surrender though?
Right.
See, this is how I surrender. I can tell you how I surrender. I got honest, became humble. From that honesty, I accepted the fact that I have disease of addiction. Now I can say, God, take it from me. I can surrender. And then I can let go. You ever had somebody say, just let go and let God? Well, it's easy to say, ain't it?
Yeah, I got it wrapped.
You know
all
what I
around
mean?
me.
You're talking to a newcomer and you're saying,
Yeah.
just let go and let go.
Yeah. Yeah, just turn
Like
it
they're
over.
gonna know how to
Just
let
turn
go.
it over, man.
Oh, that's all you gotta do.
Just turn it over.
Yeah, just turn it over.
Just
How
don't
do
do
you
it.
turn it over? See, I'm just a thinker. You know what I mean? I need to break stuff down for me.
Mhm.
I gotta have a formula to it, and there's a formula right here. There is a
And
formula
it's
right
a
here.
simple formula.
It's a simple formula, and then the next step is hope. You know, then faith. Then we got courage, integrity, willingness, humility, brotherly love, discipline, perseverance,
Service.
God consciousness, and selflessness, service. And if I can live by practicing these principles, you know, life is good, man. I don't do it perfect all the time. Just like the only thing I do perfect, and I wrote this down. And this is one that I came up with myself, but the only thing I do perfect is imperfection. That's my only perfect thing that I do.
So in AA we have the circle and triangle, right? So recovery, unity, and service.
Yeah.
You know, recovery is the 12 steps. Unity is sponsorship, fellowship, meetings, things like that. And service is working with others, getting out of ourselves. If we stay in all three parts of that, we are good to go. We're golden. And it's the same thing with your four priorities,
Mhm.
right? I believe NA on the, do they have a circle and
Yeah,
diamond?
we got a
Is that
circle
what
and
it is?
diamond.
Right?
Mhm.
And diamond, it's got four sides, right?
4 sides.
So basically,
Yeah.
and what you were just explaining, and that is how we stay. So yeah, so service, God, self, and society. So that's basically breaks down
The same
Yeah.
way.
the same way.
Yeah.
You know, it breaks down your
Boom.
priorities.
Yeah.
Basically fit right into
They
that.
do.
So if you stay in that, then you stay whole.
You stay whole.
Yeah.
And then you say, you know what I mean? Peace.
Peace.
And people misunderstand. I know I used to misunderstand peace. I always wanted peace, but you know, I get it. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Because you know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I'm
And
okay
then
with
so
myself.
another thing I always messed around with it because this is boring.
Yeah.
I misunderstood peace with boring.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were
You know
used
what I
to
mean?
that chaos for so long.
120
you
mile
know?
an hour all the time.
Yeah.
Something going
No
on.
gas, no
somewhere.
brakes.
But I came home from a meeting one time and I was sitting at my house and it was a sunny day and I had the front door open and it was just quiet. You just hear the wind blowing, the birds chirping. And I was like, man, this is peace.
It's all right.
This is peace. You know what I'm saying? But you know, just getting a little glimpse of that. You know. So, well, I think we've. I went on and on and on, but it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, man.
I know
Yeah.
that, Dave.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. So.
For sure.
Very happy
Yeah,
you came out.
thank you again for coming out, man.
Well, I sure appreciate it,
You
man.
knocked
Y'all
it out of the
are
park.
great. So yeah, you know, we just keep talking and talking and talking. You get fired up and start talking to coverage. It starts coming out. I don't know if it made any sense or went along anywhere, but
Well,
hopefully
think about
God,
it.
it
Think
did.
about it. Like going back 24 years. If I go back almost 5, Evan goes back almost 4. You think we'd be doing this on a Friday night? It's
Yeah.
a Friday
Right.
night,
That's right.
right?
That's
Like,
right.
And look how
Yeah.
much fun we're having.
That's exactly right.
You know?
That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
we've got a lot of enjoyment out of this, just getting
Yeah.
to talk with different people that come on.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been
man,
great.
I just pray over it right now, man. You know, y'all get to continue doing it and sharing the message of hope because both of you all are, you know what I mean? And and you're younger than me too. You resonate too with the different crowd as well. But you know, y'all just keep carrying that message for sure, man.
Thanks, man. We appreciate your time.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.